All right, people. Hey, welcome to another installment of the Secret Tapes. Shout out to some of my family there in Mobile, Alabama. While I was there, I was out of town road tripping and uh, love to Mama Betty there and all the Alabama fam. I said, hey, let me go see that movie Sinners. So I'm going to give my assessment. I've got a faith based thought process with this. I've got an everyday thought process. I've got a female perspective. All of those we're going to mishmash together. We're going to break this down. We're going to have spoilers. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about Sinners and welcome again to the Secret Tapes. Now, the Secret Tapes is a place where basically I talk about some things, could be a bit controversial, but it doesn't really fit in the main genre of my channel or my page. So it's like something that's off to the side, something that's maybe in the back of my head, the back of my mind, doesn't really fit any of the spaces that I'm sharing at this time. So I call it the Secret Tapes. We have horror, we have vampires in this film, we have a predominantly black cast. We can call this a black horror film. Al Capone was mentioned, the 1920s gangster era. That's where Al Capone comes from. So we can take note of that this is probably a period piece that takes place in that era. We have the gangsters, we have the thugs, we have love, we have racism, we have power, we have religion, all of these different elements taking place in this film. So some of the things that stand out to me is the invitation. Now, I've talked about this with my church family, Free Will Church. Check them out on London Washington page on YouTube. But we talk about invitations and inviting the enemy in. And at times, with our behaviors, our lifestyles, or whatever, we invite the devil into our space. And it's kind of the similar thing with the vampires. The vampires have always had that lure that they cannot come where they're not invited. So a lot of times they engage you, they beguile you. I know in the old vampire flicks, they just have this look in their eye that kind of makes the women swoon. So they have a way to tempt you, kind of like the devil, and to get you to let your guard down and let them come right on in. So that element takes place. But then we have the character Annie, and her character, I believe, is with Smoke. And her character is into the dark arts. So people come to her for spiritual things and spells and all of this. And I'm not a fan. This is not something that I think is a good thing. I know there are people that are into it and they think that it's not sinister. They don't realize that they could be connecting with the devil, whatever the case. For me, in the real world, no way. But it was a good thing to have her in this film and have her perspective in a spiritual perspective, because many of us don't look in the spiritual realm, because she had that background. She knew something was up. I think that she was able to help protect the characters for so long because she had that spiritual background and knew when it comes to the invitation, why she knew that spirits had to be invited in. So that background helped her kind of slow the vampires down in their pursuit, and give us a little bit of pushback in the story, which we always need a bit of conflict, a little push and pull for a story to go forward. Door price, that the whole idea of a door price came up to me as well. I can see lessons in this, even like in little tidbits, parts of things, and just maybe some life lessons. But with the whole thing with the door price, and I says the door price worth it, because I recall when the vampire gentleman who was Caucasian, it was definitely a race battle in this movie, and it was actually, I say, a bit controversial when I think it's Smoke's character kind of shot up the guy that really sold them the club, and his plan was to set them up so that he could come after them with the clan in that building. And I guess act as if they were squatting in the building when they paid money outright to use that building. So to get more into the premise, for those of you that you've seen it, because hopefully you don't want to be totally spoiled on this movie and you haven't seen it, but Smoke and Stack are twin brothers. They've been out in Chicago in that area. They're now back in their hometown, which is the rural area. They come back all gangstered out with the suits and everything. They got the money. They got all these things. They bring their little cousin in, and their little cousin has a gift from God, an amazing voice. His daddy's a pastor, and the cousin, he's struggling. Should I be in this club scene using my voice for that, or should I use my voice for the church? So his dad is really on him about it too. So he gets the opportunity to work with his cousins who just come back from Chicago. They're going to do a speakeasy. They're planning on having this club open all the time, but this is their opening night. They meet this white guy, and not sure how they met this guy, but they want to use his facility, which is out in the middle of nowhere, I guess, where they wouldn't be bothered, but also where a lot of the people of color are frequent, and they probably wouldn't know how to get there. Okay, we want to use this spot to open up our club for tonight. Everything's going down now. Everything's fast and furious in that sense. So when they open, they pay the guy off. And, it's an assumption even around town that, of course, their money is drug money, blood money, all of that. Back then, I think alcohol was the big consumer as far as selling illegal alcohol. So they had blood money, basically, and they used that money to come back into their community and to create this space for their oppressed people to enjoy, have fun, be entertained, use their gifts and talents, all of that, and maybe get into a little trouble as well. So that's the main premise of the movie. Then we have, I believe, Smoke. He reunites with his ex Annie, and they lost a baby they had together, and that's kind of their main story, as they still mourn the child that they lost, and they still have a connection with each other. And then we have, I think, Stack, who's hooked up with Mary, who is biracial. She can pass for white, and they kind of have a tumultuous relationship. Even though he still cares for her, he acts like he doesn't because he's trying to protect her, and he helped set her up so that she can be, in the community and pass for white and have the dream life that she may have always wanted. But she comes back into town, and she really wants to be with Stack. She said she never really wanted to be in the white area. She never really wanted to live that lifestyle. She just wanted him. And later on, we find that out in the movie. So those are the romantic points of the movie. We have Grace Chow and her husband. They own like one of the stores in town. So they kind of get in on the deal. I think he gets a sign made from her, and I'm sure they use some of the other items that they have and resources to kind of come together so they can have this big party for the night. Cornbread, he has a family, but they pull him in and get him to work the door. Delta Slim, he does the harmonica, so he's going to be playing music with the cousin, who's Sammy. The real actual Buddy Guy is in the film, and that's who Sammy's going to grow up to be. We have Remick and Joan, a couple of the antagonists in the film that are the main vampires that kind of bring this sickness into the middle of this whole community, this whole where we're having fun at this speakeasy. They're going to bring the terror. We have Chayton, who is of Indian descent, and he, in a way, is trying to be there to warn them and try to fend off this evil that he perceives and sees, in advance before everyone else sees it. Then we also have the coming of age story of Sammy. Also, he's doing his music. He's a young man, but he's also falling for this young lady her name is Pearline. She also is in the music. She sings, but she's a taken woman. Doesn't stop them from having a little indiscretion during the night at the club. So I think I spilled out the basis of all the things that happen in the film, the main bits. But let me get into the whole idea of the door price once again, because when the vampires come, they're like, I'll pay anything you want, just let me in. Because of the men's color, they're very leery of them. They don't give them a chance. They're like, you know what, we can't let you in because we don't know what your intentions are. You're in the wrong space. This is not the place for you. And they're not really mean about it, but they're just real about it. But this vampire guy and the two people that he turned into vampires are kind of begging to get in. And when he talks about the door price and the money, and he'll pay anything, whatever it is, I'll pay. And the fact that they turned down that money, it says a lot to me, because I feel like in life we do have a door price. And many times people pay the fee and they can ride, but we don't look at the implications of who these people are, their intentions, their backgrounds. We just let them pay the fee and get into our world, and they could actually take us down. But the fact that they had the wisdom to say, all money's not good money, and I'm not going to take any price just to get, some more money into the door, because they have a specific purpose and agenda, and that's to build up their people at the end of the day. So I really appreciated that part and that connection that I saw within that, as well as selling your soul for a price. That also connects with that as well. The power of music, heritage, and ancestry. It was a beautiful thing when Sammy began to sing. We saw the heritage of the Asian family that was there, representing the husband and wife that were there at the speakeasy. Everybody was dancing, having a good time. There was drinks being served, of course. And we saw, we saw music from the future and the past. And I'm not sure if someone narrated it, but we saw Afro-funk. We saw some Afro-funk dancers and people representing in there. As Sammy was singing, the music began to mix as like a DJ. And we saw all of these different musical figures. We saw like kabuki. We saw karate and ninja movement. We just saw a lot of different cultural connections, past, present, and future. But little did we know that these vampires were going to throw their culture in as well, because they were like, we're going to try to get in this door, so we're going to try to connect with them. And we said, they were like, we sing too, so they begin to do like an Irish ditty. And they were like, oh, okay, it's actually not bad. But they still wasn't getting in the door. I liked how all cultures were represented, even the culture that may have been considered the enemy. And in a way, the vampire had a good intention. In a way, he was trying to free them from the oppression, because the oppressive state of the people of color, like, well, we're going to unite and be as one. If I turn you into what I am, then we can all be one, and you don't have to be in that oppressed state. You can live eternally, and all of this, again, feels like selling your soul, right? But it's almost as if he had an intent to connect and combine, but also he still had the desire to control. He wanted to run and rule them once they became a part of them. And you can also think about how the culture, or the so-called superior culture that is the head and the top of everything, wants us to come on, work with us. We can all unite and be as one. But in reality, the hierarchy will be that you will be beneath them and you won't be able to have the privileges that they have. It was almost like a beguiling to get them on his side, but I also felt like there was on some level intent to be united. But the music scene was awesome, and I just loved how all of these different musical genres were represented, all this heritage and culture represented through the dance, through the musical selection, numbers, and everybody's dancing, and people are twerking, and it's like all of these different things started coming up. And it also made me feel like, they say the blues gospel were the first music and everything derived from that. So that's what it made me think of as well, because they're doing the blues, and blues always had a gospel tone. Everything comes out of the church, really. And just how all of what we do now and what we've done have derived from that. And then it was fire in the building. It was almost as if the building was being burned down, but it was like a fire from within, the fire of the talent, the gifts that Sammy had, as well as everyone in that room just had a gift and a calling and a blessing and all of these talents. And it called the vampires in. And it makes me think of how we can see that it almost seems like the superior race, or who considers themselves to be superior race at times, especially during the times of slavery, were like vampires. They wanted to take your gifts and talents. They wanted to use you and make gains from you. It wasn't really all about helping you, but it was put in that disguise as, oh, I'm helping you. But really, and I'll even take it to the Christian level, because also the enemy wants to take your gifts and talents and he wants to exploit them for his uses. Instead of you using these things to the power of God, using these things to benefit your community, to benefit yourself, the enemy wants to take those things and be like a vampire and exploit what you have and exploit who you are. Because vampires eat and take, and that's really one of the premises I feel of the movie as well, is that that's really what they wanted to do. There was comedy. There were some parts, where the vampires were doing their thing, the aftermath, them turning people, jokes. I mean, it was funny. I mean, it wasn't like, it was a little bit of jump scares here and there, but I saw a lot of comedy in it, and it's not what I expected, but I liked it. Also, the themes of religious control. When it comes to religious control and Sammy having to choose between the church, his pastor, who was his dad, and his music. It's as if, and even the vampire called him out as he started to, I think, say, "The Lord is my shepherd," and he was saying, they said that they became one. And all of the people that the vampire drew blood from became one. So he started to call on some things and call out some things and say, they said this scripture to my people too. It was comforting, but it really didn't mean anything. It was used to control. And I know there's a lot of people of color that have that perspective, that the Bible and the Word of God was used as a control agent for people of color in slavery, for, of course, African Americans. But that's because it was taken out of context. If you look at the whole Word of God, it was not misused. It was misused basically to fit their agenda. And I think people could take anything out of context, misuse it, and cause it to fit their agenda. That's what is done. But when they see the whole truth, then they'll be enlightened. And I feel like a whole truth came out during the film. Hey, we're going to do a part 2. I'm running out of time. This is a really great topic. Sinners, we're going to talk more. Part 2 of The Secret Tapes. Stay tuned.